My poetry is about the self-love journey. It is about consciousness and spirit and nature. And it's about my divine partnership with my twin flame.
I think when we are pulled that far deep into shadow, we come out into light and there's no going back. And we are really passionate about being in the light without any excuses. It gives us a different audacity. It gives a different audacity when you have been in the shadow, and you have no qualms about declaring your dance with light. Oh,
I love it. I love how you're putting all this, Bola. And that's exactly how I felt. I felt like I was hiding for a very long time. It didn't feel safe to be in my own body. And now I am. That's actually the name of one of my books, is My Soul's Dance, Accepting the Shadows While Embracing the Light.
Welcome to the Daily Soul Bytes Show. I am your host, Bola Abimbola. This is the show where we interview guest authors, coaches, and entrepreneurs to share their insights for the expansion of collective consciousness. And today I have a very, very special guest all the way from Florida. Her name is Maria Teresa Pratico-Swanson. Welcome to the show, Maria.
Thank you, Bola. It's wonderful to be here.
And I'll read a bit about your bio before we start, Maria. Maria Teresa Pratico-Swanson is a founder and CEO of Emotional Musings. She's a poet and author of 6 published books: Shamanic Healing, a channel of poetry and light language, a yoga practitioner of over 25 years, now providing energy healing as a shaman, as well as transformation through her creative writing on her blog called Emotional Musings. Welcome to the show again, Maria. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it really is my heart's joy to talk about my journey, my awakening, my healing process. I've been through quite a bit on this planet. I say I've lived many lifetimes within this one lifetime. Right? I bet you can agree.
Yes, yeah. I can understand that. And just before we start, I do want to say to our listeners and audience that Maria and I are actually channels. So we will, it may seem as if we're talking arbitrarily, but sometimes we're actually channeling. We're actually using energies from different modalities and, from different light timelines, so that we can deepen understanding at different levels. So just to say that sometimes Maria may close her eyes when she's talking. It's because she's actually channeling in that way. So just to know, so let's go. So Maria,
let's dive on in.
So tell us, Maria, how did you get to this place? And, just a summary of your journey that has led you to really become much more aligned to your guides, your spiritual guides. This journey, being a shamanic healer and working with the elementals with nature. How did you come to that place where you are now deep in your own spiritual awakening and spiritual alignment?
I would say that it's been a continuous unraveling of conditioning, of healing trauma. One of the mantras that came to me a few years ago through one of my guides is, your being is freeing. So the more I can just focus on being my authentic self, that brings forth everything that I'm here to share and create with others. I have a natural, I've had people tell me I have this invisible sign on my forehead that says it's okay, you can trust me. And I'm a receiver. And I have to say, I didn't realize I was a channel for most of my life. I've always known that I was sensitive and different, and things just, I say everything was very loud for me. I'm sound and light sensitive. I was very shy as a child. I went through a lot of abuse, physical and sexual abuse. And in healing those, I was able to turn my channel up, we'll say, because a lot of that turned it down. I've also walked through addiction. I've walked through an eating disorder for a lot of my life, trying to really gain control over what felt so uncontrollable. And I felt that especially drugs and alcohol were a way of escaping what was going on for me all the time, because as a child and a teenager, it was really scary. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. So I just really just didn't want to be in this body. I think a lot of me was trying to escape. And then I had a suicide attempt in 2011, and that really set me on my journey of discovering who I am, and healing. And then in 2019, I met my mentor when I was ready to let out the internal secret of being sexually abused. And I met her, and we had a session together where she retrieved a piece of my soul. And since that time, my entire life has been completely different. So that's a little overview of where I've been and where I am now. Yeah.
Oh, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. It takes a lot of vulnerability for us to share some of the things that have led us to where we are. But it's important, because I don't think anything happens as a coincidence. I think when we are pulled that far deep into shadow, we come out into light, and there's no going back. And we are really passionate about being in the light without any excuses. It gives us a different audacity. It gives a different audacity when you have been in the shadow, and you have no qualms about declaring your dance with light. Oh,
I love it. I love how you're putting all this, Bola. And that's exactly how I felt. I felt like I was hiding for a very long time. It didn't feel safe to be in my own body. And now I am. That's actually the name of one of my books, is My Soul's Dance, Accepting the Shadows While Embracing the Light. And that is exactly what I do.
But tell us about your books, your
my books.
Probably 6
so
books.
I feel like there's been a lot of earth angels who have come into my life for periods of time and left my life. One of those was somebody that I connected with. We both bonded over the fact that we had, both been divorced and have been through trauma. And in messages towards one another, she asked me if I wrote poetry. And I said, yeah, I do. And she said, you need to start a blog. And I said, what's a blog? I had no idea. And then I just started, I Googled it, and I just started my blog. It just felt right. And I started sharing my poetry, things that I had been writing about all my life, but just felt this real desire and a pull to share it publicly. And so that's really how the blog began. And emotional musings, as you and I know, energy, emotions are just energy in motion. And so all of my poems from the beginning were about feeling into others and feeling into myself and feeling this great spirit around us. And it just exploded. I mean, I now have almost 800 poems. I just wrote my 777th poem the other day. Which I just looked at it and went, wow, okay, 3 sevens. That's amazing. And then I just started putting the books out. This was all just guided just by my guides of what I needed to be doing. And I love how you touched on vulnerability, because I believe vulnerability is a strength. It's one of my superpowers. And I'm very comfortable to share about the things that have happened in my life and what I've done with them, because that is entirely more important, is what I've done with the things that I've experienced. And I never want anyone to ever feel as alone as I did and have for most of my life. So that's it in a nutshell. My poetry is about the self-love journey. It is about consciousness and spirit and nature. And it's about my divine partnership with my twin flame, which has come in the last couple of years. So that's exciting. And it's just a lot of truth. It's just the things that I always say, I'm just listening. And my poetry will end up in sessions. It ends up in pretty much all my sessions, some piece of it. I have more. Well, I start my sessions with a poem that came to me called Highest Self. And so that's how I always start my sessions. And I have some, I say basic ones, but ones that could fit anyone. And then specific ones that usually as soon as somebody books with me, I'm guided to something that I've written and I know I need to share it with them. And then of course there's always like a very deep resonance for them, which is, I'm just like a bridge. That's what we are.
Where can your books be found? Are they on Emotional Music's website?
Yep, they're on my blog. The links to them, they're on Amazon. I've self-published through Amazon. So yeah, that's where I can be found.
Thank you, Maria. Could you tell us a bit about your light language? Because you also do light language channeling.
Yes. So my light language started to come through my being on Lionsgate of 23. So I've been sitting with it now for 13 months. And a lot of it, comes into sessions. Light language is, for people who don't know, a combination of all of the languages that our soul has spoken in all of our lifetimes here. And I'm a chanter and a toner. And so there's singing involved, there's light language involved, and it's incredibly healing. And it always surprises me when it shows up. I could be in my car and I'm speaking light language. I could be walking my dogs and here comes light language. So it's pretty neat. It's a pretty neat thing. Beautiful. Nothing that I planned, that's for sure.
Beautiful. I would love you to do a light language blessing towards the end to just kind of activate a deeper sense of well-being and self-worth within those who are listening, if that's okay.
I love that. Yes, that's a great intention to work off of. Yes.
Beautiful. And tell us about your shamanic healing work.
So as a shaman, I am the intermediary, the channel, the medium for spirit and this natural world that we are in, this 3D reality. So I mostly hang in the angelic realm and the realm of light beings. And so I am channeling a lot of upper dimensions. I use my voice. I use crystals. I'm actually sitting here holding 2 Lemurian quartz crystals. And I always say to people, I see souls. It's what I do. It's what I've been aware of my whole life. And so I help people become unstuck. There's a lot of different, symptoms that are going on, anxiety, depression. I've worked with people with addiction. I've worked with people who have had trauma. Most everything that I've experienced is what my clients either have experienced or are currently experiencing, and they're looking for healing. It's completely non-invasive. I see people in person, which is always fun. It's just like an extra layer of actually being within somebody's energy. But I also work over the phone and video for people all around the world. So, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful, because I know that shamans also work with nature and the element. Is that part of your work? What can people expect when they come to work with you? So
earth healings, I call them, are things that I do. I'm guided to go places on the earth. That's why I live in Florida. I go to the beach a lot and do earth healings near the water on the beach. What people can expect with me, it's a very profound experience. We just really go, we tap in, we connect, our higher selves to one another. I call in the guides. And a lot of times there's past life regressions, because that is part of the channeling I do. I'm able to see, who knows, a lot deeper than, just a few lifetimes ago. A lot of times it's very, very old, long time ago, lifetimes. And we talk to any spirits that want to come forward, that person's ancestors. I connect guides. If a guide is ready to come in and be with that person. We balance chakras. I remove toxic energy cords, things that are keeping people stuck. There's upgrades. There's a soul retrieval. So soul retrievals are me retrieving a fragment of that person's soul from any particular time. And once that happens, that is incredibly transformative. That's what has transformed me. I basically raised my own vibration once that happened. And I really felt, Bola, like I had landed on earth, like, oh, here I am. Okay. Now things make sense. And my life doesn't seem so confusing, which it did for most of my life. So that wasn't until I was in my early 40s. Yeah, I'm going to be 47. So yeah, there's music, there's singing, there's chanting, there's crystals, there's burning of herbs. Everything works off the power of intention, where somebody is and what they're ready to heal, to go to a deeper level with.
I love that. I love that. And thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I know that just to give this some context, because I think there is. So some of us, believe that we live in a very linear life. Journey is one lifetime after another. And some of us, some school of thoughts will say that every single lifetime is actually happening at the same time. It's actually parallel timelines. And there's some who believe that we don't have lifetimes, that it's a one-shot thing.
Yes.
So it's really about we're aligning to. And I mean, I'm not the person to try and convince anyone to go one way or another, because we all have free will and we all have come to explore different themes. But I'm one of those who I do believe that we are actually living timelines that are simultaneous to each other. What tends to happen is we actually, when we suffer trauma as children, parts of us are subdued, are repressed, or actually get lost. So we lose of ourselves, and we continue. We still remain functional, but we're not really experiencing that whole physical ego self as we can. So that soul retrieval process, it's a way of actually getting that lost self back. This is the physical ego self, because that spiritual self, our spirit self, is whole. That higher self can never be broken. That higher self is there, but we're not connecting to it. And what tends to happen is the more whole that physical ego self is, the more surrendered it can be to the higher self. That is when we can really experience the best outcomes that we have come to actually experience in any life. So it's about getting that physical ego self to be as whole as it can be, and to feel as loved as it can feel, to surrender to that higher self. So the higher self can begin to drive the different aspects, whether it's relationships, whether it's abundance, whatever aspect of life that we have come to explore, because we've all come to explore different themes. Not everybody has come to explore relationships. Some people have come to explore a solitary life. And that's so it's about really coming to understand what we have come to explore as themes, and remembering that any experience we come to that unfolds in front of us can have a higher perspective or a lower perspective. A lower perspective, this is our thoughts. Our perspectives can be around fear, or survival, or threat, or they can be about love, unconditional love. That's what my book is about. Daily Soul Bytes. Daily Soul Bytes is really about this higher perspectives and the lower perspectives. And it's available now in paperback and audiobook, anywhere books are sold online. And higher perspectives that allow us to become much more familiar with love. Higher perspectives that allow us to release the resistance from fear, from unforgiveness. The lower perspectives that do not allow us to feel wholesome, do not allow us to surrender to the higher perspectives. And we know that wherever we focus on, whether we're focusing on lower perspectives or higher perspectives, that is what will expand in our day-to-day. So alignment is key. Alignment is key. So I love the work you're doing, Maria, where you're talking about, you're really supporting those who have lost parts of self to really connect with all the different parts to feel more whole and to feel more loved, to feel more grounded.
Which is the truth, which is our truth.
That is it.
So it's like connecting to truth.
That is it. And at the end of the day, we need to feel present. We need we need to find a way, using the different modalities, to come to a place where we can feel present. And it's like I always think it's like a pendulum. So you're going from being really negative because of the, this is the conditioning, we all have. And you're going from being negative and the pendulum is swinging right to the other end where you're able to feel more positivity. You're able to align to more positivity. And it keeps going left and right, and it slowly balances in the middle where we are now staying more present. And that place of being present is a place of no judgment. It's a place of no thoughts. It's actually a place of not thinking about the future or the past. We're able to look at things with a different perspective, which is a higher self, which is where the higher self dwells in. It's in that neutral space. And I do, and that is what my program, I do want to say before we carry on, Maria, that I am running a SMART Emotional Mastery program, starting on the 11th of October, which will really support those who want to learn to go through that, develop that self-awareness into mindfulness and get into that place of transmutation, staying in that neutral space of being present. It's an 8-week program, so those who want to connect with me can check that out from my website. And I do want to hear more about your work, Maria. That those who have been through trauma and really delve into that spiritual awakening process, how can they begin to develop connection with spirit? Just 2-3 steps that people can.
I feel like a very big part of that is breath and breath and presence. So I say to a lot of my clients, like it literally takes a couple of minutes, and you can do it anywhere. If you don't feel comfortable doing it out in public, but you can do this anywhere. You just put your hand over your heart and get in line with your breath. Take like 5 deep breaths in. Box breathing is a really great way to do this. So that would be like, inhale for 4, hold for 4, release for 4, hold at the bottom for 4, and then do that in a cycle. And that helps the mind, body, the coherence of your heart. And once you can feel yourself in your body, then you operate by feeling. And that is what I do. My feeling is my largest sense. I feel into everything. I think that's what was so scary as a child, as a young person, feeling so much and not knowing how to really navigate the world like that, because that's not necessarily suggested. That's not necessarily, something that we follow here in this world. As you said, it's like, we are conditioned to believe that our thoughts are who we are, and they're not. Everything is temporary, including feelings. But I feel that when you can follow your own heart, that's where your soul is. That's where your consciousness lives. So that is the best way to navigate yourself, right? And I always say, like, wherever you are, make choices based on how you feel, not how others feel. Because that's self-love right there, making choices off of how you yourself feel. I know now that I will not betray myself anymore based on what others think or feel or how it would suit them and their agendas. I work off of an internal authority. And so that is the most important thing to me. Being in stillness, we live in a really loud, busy world, and there's so much distraction. They call it the attention economy, and there's things everywhere to take our attention away from ourselves. So being still is very important, even if it's for like 10 minutes a day. Being outside is super important. That's how we ground into the energy that we live within. So yeah, those are just some basic tips. Doing that every day, building upon that. But yeah.
Yes, honestly.
Breath, nature, presence.
Yes, breath work is key. Breath work is key because underneath the breathing in of the oxygen is life force. There's life force actually rides on the breath. And I have come to find that, air is the very first basic human need, much more than sleep or water or food. We actually breathe. have that life force within us, that energy within us, to replenish and to build the parts of us that are physical. As actually, it's not matter. We're actually energy beings. So that life force comes into us and replenishes us. So that is a very powerful modality. And I know that, some people may say, how can that help me with the spiritual awakening? It's a journey, because you're letting go of the grip of the physical ego, and you're allowing that physical ego self to feel loved and safe and trusted enough to surrender to the higher self. So that journey and those tips, strategies you have shared are really key. Thank you for that.
Yes. Breath work. I practice breath work a lot. Awesome. I've been practicing it for like 5 years. Conscious breathing. There is breath with movement, which is what yoga is, but I practice conscious breath work. So I'm, laying down, tapped in, doing cycles of breath, and then holding and releasing and holding and releasing. Usually it's like a half an hour session that I do with a really dear friend of mine. And I find that to be like clearing. That's very clearing of my channel. A lot of poems are birthed after sessions like that. So yeah, I agree with you. And I feel like it's a marry of, and I know there's a lot of different belief systems out there, but I believe that we are never to transcend completely our ego. That is the human journey. That's why we came here, is to be in a human body and to explore these different, like you said, relationships and just different aspects of this life. But I believe it's a marry between the soul and the ego. Neither one, like you need both. So it's befriending. That's because I feel like that's very abusive, to be honest with you. I've spoken, with a lot of different kinds of people, and I feel that like, while we are in a human body, there will always be an aspect of ego. Always.
The personality constructs. We all have personality constructs, and these constructs are what we need to experience life. It's what is driving these constructs. Are these constructs being driven by fear, or are they being driven by love? Because the physical ego doesn't know love. The physical ego is really driven by that fear. That's the conditioning of this, this dual matrix that we're in, this illusionary matrix we're in. But it's about how we come to understand the need for the ego and how that ego can be even better. How that ego can really develop that love, develop that power within. There is a power that comes as opposed to living in learned helplessness and in victimhood. So
I would call that suffering.
Yes,
that would be just suffering. And I feel like our culture as a whole has been taught that we're addicted to suffering. And that's not the case. You do not have to exist in suffering. There is an end. And healing. And that's what I stand for. I believe I'm here to share about the healing journey and the fact that you can learn to love and be in, this is dialectical behavior, learning to accept wherever you are and whatever's happening, because there is that love.
Yeah.
And so it always comes back to the love. I may not love everything that's going on around me, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I can handle it.
And
right?
It's important, that acceptance.
Yeah.
Holding space for the different parts of us.
And different people.
Yes.
I just, you know what I mean? I feel like that just once you can, because obviously you know this, the more complete and whole I am within myself, the more space and compassion I can have for others. And that is another huge part of this journey, I feel, is accepting others and taking others where they're at, because we're all at different levels of this thing. And I'm not right and you're not right and wrong. And all that stuff doesn't matter. We're all here together. And so I feel like that's, the things that I've experienced have really grown my compassion for others, because I have it for myself.
Yeah,
I had to start within.
It's everything on the outside is a reflection of what's within us. So that's important for us to know, that it's kind of, yes, we are all infinite parts of universal energy. That God self, that consciousness, which is a reflection of God, We are all infinite parts. Each and every one is a unique part of that. So we're all one, but we're all unique parts of that puzzle.
Yes.
That would not be whole without us. That puzzle would not be whole without each and every one of us. But it's a reflection. That what we see is a reflection of what's within us. So that's something I just wanted to say. But I don't want to lose the light language expertise.
Okay.
What do you know the beings you channel? Or there's a collective that you're getting
It's a collective. It's definitely a council. I identify with the Palladians and the Arcturians. But I also feel there's some Andromedans. So
beautiful. So if you could give us
angels.
Say that again.
I said, and the angels.
Beautiful.
There's 4 specific angels that I channel.
Which angels are those?
Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel.
Beautiful. Would love you to give us a blessing as we go today. Do you interpretations of your light language, or that is something that you leave for the individual to actually?
I leave it for the individual, unless I'm told something specific. Like, we are working off the intention of sending love and acceptance to all. That's what I'm going to work off of. So
beautiful. Yes. So take it away, Maria. If you give us a short light language blessing for those who really want to deepen that love and acceptance within.
I say la khine fine pola she I if I say ohone la she afaha say oh fane amane ala say omone I say ashla hola poratea say fe I poti I ina mula shela fai ashitukai and poti la ashiti pai I say poya take I le here say peti I of canala say apochi I ina mo I say omone ala say omone I say namaste.
Thank you for that, Maria. And on that note, I would like to thank you for joining me today, Maria.
Thank you, Bola. And I usually close a lot of my sessions with enlighten and shadow, always with love. Namaste.
Beautiful. Thank you, Maria. And I'd like to thank the audience for joining me today. And I do want to encourage you to check out Maria's website and her blog, and also contact her for a very profound shamanic healing work. And also to check out Daily Soul Bytes book, available anywhere books are sold, online now. And I'd love to see you on the next episode of the Daily Soul Bytes Show. Bye-bye.